Kitty sat down on the rooftop next to the kitten. The streets below were dark and silent. Stars glittered overhead like diamonds scattered across the sky. "Where do you usually like to sleep?" she asked him. "I like to find somewhere warm and bright. The thing is—" The kitten twitched his ears shyly. "I'm a little bit scared of the dark. Sometimes I feel like that too, especially when the clouds cover up the moon and there are lots of shadows." Kitty looked from her friends to the beautiful night sky. She smiled, remembering what her mom had told her. "But the nighttime isn't as frightening as I thought. When the moon comes out, you can feel magic in the air." The kitten nodded. His eyes were wide. "Where will you go now?" Figaro asked the kitten. "I'm afraid my humans won't let me bring visitors into our home. I tried it once, and it caused such a kerfuffle." The kitten's shoulders drooped. "I don't know. Sometimes I sleep outside the seafood store, and the shopkeeper gives me some fish when the shop opens in the morning. But the doorstep is cold and hard." "You must come with me," said Kitty firmly. "Everyone in my family loves cats. You can sleep in my room, and I'll make you a delicious breakfast in the morning." The kitten perked up. "Really? I can come with you?" Kitty smiled. "Of course you can. And tomorrow you can meet my family." The kitten bounced up and down with happiness. "I've always wanted to see inside a real home. Thank you, Kitty." Kitty led the cat down from the roof and back through the square. When they reached the park, the kitten began to tremble. He yowled at a spiky bush and jumped into Kitty's arms. "What's wrong?" asked Kitty. "It looks like a monster," squeaked the kitten. "Don't worry. It's nothing to be scared of." Kitty set him down, but a moment later he hopped back into her arms when a tree branch rustled in the wind. Kitty carried him through the park, and he yowled at the gate, the pond, and the swings. At last his head began to droop. He gave one final squeaky mew at a park bench before closing his eyes. His head rested on Kitty's shoulder. "Poor thing," whispered Pixie. "It must be awful finding everything so scary." Figaro rolled his eyes. "Things are certainly quieter now that he's asleep. For goodness sake, don't wake him up again." Kitty and her friends hurried out of the park and climbed back to the rooftops. They darted along, skipping neatly around the chimneys. At last Kitty spotted her bedroom window at the end of a row of houses. She had left her lamp on, and it glowed behind the curtains. "Thank you for helping me with my very first adventure," she said to Figaro, Katsumi, and Pixie. "It was our pleasure," said Katsumi, with a bow. "You did a fantastic job. I expect now you'll want to go on more," said Figaro, with a wink. "I expect I will," said Kitty, laughing. The ginger kitten woke up and waved his paw sleepily. "Good-bye, everyone, and thank you." "Good-bye. See you again soon," said Kitty. Kitty watched Figaro with his handsome black coat and white paws scamper away across the rooftops. Katsumi followed him, her honey-colored fur pale in the moonlight. Pixie left last, her bright white fur gleaming in the darkness. Kitty sighed happily. It really had been an amazing night. She set the kitten down on the windowsill and climbed into her bedroom. "I hope you like my room. I have lots of comfy pillows and blankets. Would you like to come and see?" The kitten's whiskers shook. I don't really know. I thought I wanted to see a real home, but what if I get trapped inside?" "You won't, and I promise I'll look after you," said Kitty, surprised. The kitten backed away to the corner of the windowsill. "I can't go in. Please don't be mad." "Don't worry, I'm not mad." Kitty reached out and stroked the kitten between his ears. "I just don't want you to be cold." "I'm quite warm here." The kitten lay down on the windowsill and curled his tail around his body. Kitty fetched her pillows and a blanket and brought them over to the window seat. She left the window open and settled down on the wide, cushioned seat so that she could be close to the ginger kitten. She could see his striped tummy rising and falling peacefully as he slept. Kitty hoped he was having happy dreams. At last, she closed her eyes too, and the stars twinkled above them in the velvet black sky. Kitty woke up the next morning. Her mom was pushing the hair out of her face. She sat bolt upright, puzzled to find herself on the window seat and not in bed. Then she remembered everything that had happened the night before. She peeked through the open window, but the kitten wasn't asleep on the sill anymore. "Morning, Kitty," said Mom. "You look like you had an adventure last night." Kitty glanced down at her superhero outfit. "It was amazing. A cat named Figaro came here looking for you. It was an emergency, so I went to help instead." "Shall I make us some breakfast? And then you can tell me all about it," said Mom. "Oh, yes, please." But Kitty peered outside, frowning. "Can you see a little ginger kitten?" "When I went to sleep, he was right here on the windowsill." Throwing off her blanket, she leaned out the window and listened carefully. All she could hear were birds chirping and cars driving along the street below. Kitty's heart sank. She'd wanted to look after the kitten because he had no home of his own. She wished he'd been brave enough to come inside. "Maybe he's still nearby," said Mom. "Why don't you try going outside and calling him?" Kitty slipped out the window and climbed to the rooftop. The sun shined down warmly, and wisps of clouds hung in the pale blue sky. Kitty stopped on the ridge of the roof, calling, "Hello! Are you still here?" At first there was no answer. Then a small striped face with whiskers peeped out from behind the chimney. His blue eyes lit up when he saw Kitty. Then he drew back nervously. Mom, who had followed Kitty, whispered, "Is he a shy cat?" "I think he's nervous because he's been living all alone until now," explained Kitty. "He didn't want to come inside last night. He's not used to having a home." "I see." Mom frowned thoughtfully. "Well, if he won't come to us, maybe we should go to him. Come and help me with the breakfast things, Kitty." Kitty and her mom made a stack of golden pancakes that smelled so delicious they made Kitty's mouth water. They carried the pancakes out to the rooftop, along with some fresh orange juice. They also brought out some fresh fish in case the kitten was hungry. They spread Kitty's blanket on a small flat area of the roof near the chimney. Kitty poured some syrup on her pancake and took a bite. Everything tastes better when you eat outside." "It really does," said her mom, laughing. "I wonder if this fish tastes good too," said Kitty, glancing at the chimney. The kitten's face peered out again, and his nose twitched as he smelled the breakfast. He crept up to the bowl of fish. "Good morning," Kitty beamed. "I hope you're hungry." "Good morning." The kitten flicked his tail shyly and then nibbled some food from the bowl. "This fish is so yummy." "Did someone say fish?" Figaro leaped along the rooftops, stopping to preen his sleek black and white fur. "I hope there's enough for me." Katsumi, who was behind him, waved her elegant tail. "Honestly, Figaro, you shouldn't invite yourself to someone else's meal." Pixie, arriving last, sniffed the air. The sun gleamed on her silky white coat. "It does smell delicious. I can imagine I've walked into a splendid banquet." Katsumi bowed to Kitty and her mom. "Sorry for interrupting your breakfast. We just came to say good morning and to thank Kitty for her help last night." "Good morning," Mom smiled. "You're welcome to join us. I have plenty more fish in the fridge." "That is most kind," exclaimed Figaro, while Katsumi and Pixie murmured their thanks. Mom climbed inside and reappeared with 3 more bowls of food. The ginger kitten finished his breakfast and licked the bowl with his little pink tongue. That was delicious. He crept over to Kitty and curled up in her lap. Kitty smiled and stroked his fur gently. "Good morning." Dad lifted Max onto the rooftop. "Do I smell pancakes?" Soon everyone was eating breakfast and talking about Kitty's adventure the night before. Figaro reminded them all that it had been his idea to fetch Kitty in the first place. I was certain Kitty's cat-like superpowers would be just what we needed," he told everyone. Kitty blushed. "I didn't think I could do it, but it got easier the more I tried." "I'm very proud of you, Kitty." Mom beamed at her before turning to the kitten. "And maybe you'd like to come live with us. We have plenty of room here, and we'd love you to stay. I'm sure it would be nicer than sleeping outside on some doorstep." Kitty's heart skipped. She'd hoped her family would love the kitten as much as she did. She held her breath, waiting for him to reply. "You really want me to stay?" He looked from Mom to Kitty. "Not just for one day, but forever?" "Yes, please do." Kitty stroked him between the ears. "And I think we should help you to choose a name. She wrinkled her forehead, thinking, "How about Pumpkin? It suits you because you have such lovely orange fur." The kitten purred. "I love that name. Do you really think it suits me?" "It's perfect for you," Katsumi told him. Pumpkin rubbed his face against Kitty's, and she held him tight, feeling his soft fur against her cheek. "I think maybe one day soon I'd like to go on another adventure in the moonlight," said Pumpkin. "Are you sure you wouldn't be too scared of the dark?" asked Kitty. Pumpkin thought hard about this. "Maybe a little bit, but it's much easier to be brave when I'm with you." Kitty hugged him tight. She was so happy to have found Pumpkin, and she was looking forward to having another adventure, too.